Biget here. Today we're going to be discussing reloading 44 Magnum. We're going to be discussing how to turn this once fired brass case that we have a big pile of back into this, a fully loaded 44 Magnum round right there. And all the steps that we're going to have to do to get there. So we do have a brand new, we have a few of these. We got a few bags of 100 packs of Starline brass. This is excellent brass. I got it on sale at Brownells for $20 for 100 cases. But we're also going to go ahead and we're going to clean some. So some of the components we're going to use for this, we're going to use the RCBS 3-die set right here, 44 Magnum and specials. We got our shell holder in there too. We're going to use some large pistol primers right there, number 300 CCIs. From powder right there, we're going to use some Hodgdon H110. I also use that for my 357 Magnums. This is excellent Magnum powder for big revolvers. And then we're going to top it off with, I love Sierra bullets. We're going to some 44 caliber, 240 grain jacketed hollow. And these are pretty, these are real standard right there. These are the standard loads for 44 Magnums. 240 grain projectiles. Never forget your reloading manual right there. So then we're going to pull our recipe out of here. And so let's go start off and start cleaning some brass right now. So you can see we just have some crushed almond seed right in there. And then we got our hopper right here, and this is our tumbler. And this is just a Hornady. They're all the same. I don't think Hornady makes these, but I see a bunch of them that are the same. But you'll see I have lots of reloading videos. And then so we got some media right in here in our tumbler. And I also have, just to make it a little cleaner, I put a little wax and a little compound in there. I've noticed it makes the brass a little shinier. So we'll go ahead and we're going to throw all of our brass in there. So you can see we've got our whole tumbler loaded up here. Put our top on, put our washer on. And depending on how clean you want this stuff, usually a tumbling of an hour, maybe 2 hours tops. I'll tumble rifle brass a little longer because it's bottlenecked. But usually these straight-walled cases, these tumble pretty clean. And I'll let them go for probably about an hour, maybe an hour and a half. You know, I'll just sit down and watch some TV, answer some emails while I'm doing this, or maybe set up some of the stuff, because I hate the sound of this thing. I don't like being in the garage when this thing is tumbling. So just go ahead and flick it on. So there we go, just finished tumbling them. We ended up tumbling them for about an hour and a half. Let's see how these buggers look. Let's take a look here. Yeah, that looks nice. See how shiny that is. Yeah, it's clean all over. That's beautiful. Perfect tumbling. Alright, so we'll go ahead and we'll put the screen mesh top on here. And we will. And what we're going to do is we're going to put the tumbler over my bucket, my plastic bucket of media. And we're going to fire it up again, and that will dump all the media out of the tumbler and into the bucket and separate the media from the cases. So we'll just take it, 223 case. How nicely this works. I'm going to go ahead and fire the tumbler back up. Shake. So that's all done now. Tumbler full of nice clean brass, and that media can be reused also, so you can kind of tell when the media gets worn out. We got a nice handful there, clean brass. You can see how clean that stuff is. So now we've got all of our empty cases right here, and we're going to go ahead and the next step will be depriming and resizing these cases right here. So get them back to the original factory size and deprime them in one step with the die. So the die set we're using right here is an RCBS, and this is a 44 mag 44 special case. The only difference in these two cases will be the 44 mag case, the brass will be a little thicker and it's a little longer than the 44 special. And this die set is also the carbide set right here, which means they do not need lube. But since we're going to go ahead, and I always believe, I'm in the marine industry, that metal and on metal, you can never hurt it by putting a little lube on it. So we're going to go ahead and put about a nickel's worth of this Hornady product right here. I really like this. This is an aerosol, and you don't want to breathe this stuff in, but we're going to go ahead and give it a couple hits of this. So we've got our press right here. This is our RCBS rock chucker right here, and I have many other reloading videos that I've done. So you can see this setup's been the same now for this, like for a few years for me now. So here's our die right here, and this is our full length resizing die right here with our decapping pin. And it's pretty straightforward there. And to adjust this right here, we are going to insert it in the press and start screwing it in there. And as this, we will put our shell holder in here. And this shell holder, this is the RCBS, it should tell me the part number on it. 18, yeah, RCBS number 18. And they'll all have their different, whether it's Lee, Redding, Hornady, whoever makes these things. Basically, that's going to sit on the press, and your empty brass will fit in there, so you can push and pull on it, and it's not going to move. So we'll go ahead and we're going to install shell holder right in there. It just clips on in there. And then we're going to raise our ram all the way to the top. And then we are going to screw our resizing die till it kisses the ram, and just get it finger tight. Some people will overcam it, so you can overcam it and get a little locking mechanism. I think you're splitting hairs there. I don't think that is necessary. And what we'll do is we'll get our little wrench right here, and we're just going to put a little bit of wrench on that locking nut right there, just so it doesn't come out, because we are resizing 100 cases here, so it'll be in there for a little bit. So that's all locked in there. So we are ready to go and start resizing cases right here. So we'll put into our primer catcher so the loose primers don't go all over the place. So there are 44 mag case. It's a lube. We'll go ahead and put it in the shell holder. Yeah, nice and easy. And that is one case that has been deprimed and is ready to be reloaded. So let's go ahead and we'll do a few others so you can just see the see, that's deprimed and resized. And with a single stage press, you know, you want to definitely get a rhythm, and because this isn't gonna, you know, this is a little slower. But you know, a nice round like this 44 Magnum, I mean, in a store these things are $1 a piece, and there's no getting around. 44 Magnum is expensive. You know, and it's not the cheapest thing to reload. You will save a fortune reloading this stuff. I mean, obviously the brass is free, so this won't cost me any money. Primers cost nothing. Primers maybe $5. I don't even think they're $5 for 100. Maybe $4 for 100. But you can see you get a little rhythm going. You just one more camera angle here. Put the brass in there. See it just sitting in there. Push it up into the resizer. So every time I push the ram up, the bottom of the ram with the shell holder kisses the bottom of the resizing decapping die. Thus the whole thing's being inserted, so it's coming out like a brand new piece of brass. And these straight walled cases, these are real nice to reload because they're real easy to reload. Straight walled cases are, it's a pleasure to reload straight walled cases. I mean, you can reload bottleneck. Obviously I reload a lot of 308s, but you know, I've toyed around with the idea of reloading 357 SIG, but I have not. So our next step here is we are going to expand the mouth of our case right here, so we can, so the bullet, it will accept the bullet, and then we can press the bullet down in here. And the next thing we're going to do is prime the brass. So this brass right here, the 44 Magnum calls for a large pistol primer. It does not call for a Magnum primer in the recipe book. So you can use a large pistol Magnum primer, but it is not needed. So we are just using regular CCI number 300 large pistol primers. And we will put those in a tray in a second. But let's set up our die here for our expansion right here. So first we're going to take our die, we're going to lower, put it in there. We're going to raise our ram. And this one, the die actually isn't that important for this step right here. What's more important, so we're just going to put it in there. We'll put our nut down, keep it tight. What's more important is our plunger right here. You can see the round part of it right there. This goes into the case like that, and we'll open up the mouth right there, and you can see it's a little bigger right there, and it will just open up to accept the bullet, the projectile. So we're going to go finger tight. I'm going to lower it just a touch. Then the next thing you need is your projectiles, because you're going to want to make sure your projectiles, and we are using the 240, yep, that's close. Ooh, yeah, it's real close. Wow, on the first try. Let's give it just a touch more. So there we go. That's what it's supposed to look like. And we have our brass right there, and it is accepting our projectile. So we'll go ahead and we're going to do one more piece of brass just to make sure we are correct. So we'll take the brand new piece of brass, we'll put our projectile there. You can see it won't sit in there. Try it again. It will not. Oh, there it sits in there, but trust me, it won't sit in there. So we'll go up, put it on the press. Yep, I can feel it sit right in there. All right, so we're good. So we're going to go ahead and tighten all this up. So you're happy with our adjustment. So we're tight there. And we will go ahead. And the next thing we will do is try one more. Get another piece of brass. Oops. Expand it. Yep, that fits in there nicely. And you don't want to overexpand it, because the less you can work the brass, the better off you are, and the more longevity you will get out of your brass. So the next job we're going to do is we're going to get the primer ready. And to prime cases on a single stage press, it's pretty simple. We've got a little priming arm right there, and there's two sizes of this. We have the smaller one right there, and that's for small primers. And the one that's on here is for large primers, and we've already set that up right here. And you can, so that it's got a little spring in it, and it's pretty simple the way it works. Basically the case is in there, and the push function of the ram will expand the mouth of the case, and then the pressing down function, you can see it come through the bottom of the ram, will press our primer in there, in our primer pocket. So the next important thing I would recommend doing is safety goggles, because we're dealing with primers, and primers are like to ignite because that's their job. So we will put on safety goggles here. And 100 large primers. I've never had a primer tray detonation, but I definitely would not want to see it. So this is a pretty cool device. This is RCBS primer tray number 2. Basically, you're going to take the primer tray. This is the bottom of it with all the circles in it, and take it, put it upside down on top of your primers, flip it over, lift it up, and most of your primers are right side up. So that's pretty cool. So we'll take our primers, put them over there so we can reach them. All right, so let's start doing some cases right here. So we're going to go ahead and we are going to, so the neck's being expanded in that motion, and then their case is primed. And then once you take the case off, make sure that's flush in there, and it is, so that's good. We're happy with that. And then we'll go ahead and we'll put it down. So we'll go ahead, we'll expand it. These have already been expanded and checked, these 3 right here. We're going to lower it. I'm going to prime it. And then this one, we'll go ahead and expand it. And we're going to bring it down, and we're going to prime it. Just run our finger over it, make sure it's nice and flush in there, and it is beautiful. So let's take a new piece of brass, expand it. Let's test to see if our projectile sits on the top of it. Ooh, yeah, that's good enough. Yeah, it's barely sitting in there, but that's fine because we're not working the brass much. So then we'll go ahead and we will prime it. And just like all steps of reloading, we want to get a nice little rhythm going here. So we're going to expand it, and also being consistent. So we expand it first, and then we're priming it. And we just run our finger over the primer pocket of the brass to make sure the primer is flush in the primer pocket. Let's go ahead and test another projectile. Yep. Yeah, it's barely sitting on there, but it is sitting, so we're good. This is a nice adjustment. We'll do one more, and then we'll go ahead and we'll shut the camera off, and we will finish. Ooh, drop the primer. We got it. Yep, we're rolling. One more. Expand it. Prime it. So we have all of our, those are 100 rounds right there of our brass. It's all primed and the case mouth is widened. And now we're going to go ahead and we're going to fill up our powder dispenser right here with Hodgdon's H110. And whenever you use a powder, you always want to make sure you leave the bottle of powder out, so you know what powder is in your powder measure. Because a lot of powders look the same, and you're not going to be, you don't want to make a mistake and put a pistol powder into a rifle, or vice versa. So we're set up there. So that is our scale right there, and it is set, see if we can get you a good one. That is set for 24 grains. That is how much H110 we're going to be putting in our cases. So next thing, you want to make sure you have a reloading manual, and this is mine right here. It's the second edition, published by Richard Lee, Modern Reloading, and this is 44 Magnum right here. And the things we're really interested in is our dies take care of most of this for us. Is our overall case length right here. It's 1.61 of an inch. And the next thing we're going to want to look at is what we're loading right there. So we are loading a 240 grain jacketed bullet right here. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to zoom in on our recipe. So we're going to be shooting these out of my Ruger Super Red Hawk with a 7.5 inch barrel, and that's a big revolver, and that will handle big loads. So let's look at the powder we're using. First, we're using a 240 grain jacketed bullet. So we're using H110. The minimum charge is 23 grains, and that will push it along at 1,400 feet per second, but we've loaded these a few other times, so we're going to go ahead and load them with the max charge, which is 24 grains right here for 1,522 feet per second. So, I don't recommend doing this. Load it with the 23, but as you can see, there's not a big difference there. You're only talking, 100 feet per second, 109 feet per second there with an extra grain of powder. So there's not a huge fluctuation with these two charges right here. And then you can load it in tenths or 2/10 of a grain. So that is our recipe right there, and that's a pretty proven recipe. So the next thing we're going to want to do is we're going to want to set up our powder, and we're going to want to make sure we have 24 grains, and we're going to weigh it out with our scale. So I have our scale set to 24 grains, and we're going to drop our first charge. And what we will do is we will dump the first charge back into the top of the hopper just to make sure everything's consistent. Drop a second charge, and we're going to weigh it. Make sure we're right at 24 grains. You can tell that one's a little light. So we're a little light there. So what I'm going to do is to adjust this, all we have is an aluminum cylinder in here, and this is a bolt, and by the thread screwing it up and down will control how much volume is in the powder dispenser. So right now we're a little light, so let's go ahead and we will twist it a little bit, put a little more powder in it. Go ahead, drop our charge. Let's see how that one weighs out. Looks like I think we're right. Yeah, we're right. We're right on now. So that's good. We're right on the money. So we're going to go ahead with that. So our next step will be to put in our bullet seating die. And we'll drop one more charge, and we'll let it weigh out just for consistency and redundancy as we're setting up our bullet seating die. RCBS gives us 2 bullet seating dies right here. Right here we have one for round noses, and then we got one for flat wad cutters. Revolvers really like wad cutters, and they've proven to be the most accurate rounds. But since our bullets right here are jacketed hollow points, I thought the round one will kind of center it better, and we'll probably do a better job seeing it. You can see I've already used that one, and I have not loaded up any lead wad cutters yet, but with my 44 mag, but I definitely should. So we'll put the wad cutter one back. So our next step is we have our bullet seating die, and this also serves as a crimping die. So what we're going to do is we're just going to go ahead and we're going to start our die just a little bit. And then we will take our case, and we're going to insert our case. And we're going to lower the die down until we feel it touch the case. And what will be touching the case is the crimp, but we're not interested in crimping it yet. So we're going to back it out one full turn, and we are going to set our locking nut. We're definitely going to want to set this too, because we don't want to crimp our cases yet before the bullets go into them. So we'll go ahead, we'll set that set now, and we will take our bullet seater and we will lower our bullet seater down. So first thing, we will take our case, we have a case in there, we'll get our primer arm out of the way here. And again, make sure our safety goggles are on, because we're going to be handling, prime cases with powder in them now. And so we will go ahead, and I can see that we're exactly at 24 grain, which is very cool. We'll do one more just to test it again. We'll let it settle out there. Pretty sure that'll be right on. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to charge our case. Place it down there. Let's verify that it's charged. You can see the charge sitting in the case. I can see it in there. Most of it's full. Big old 44 mag. I'm going to seat our projectile on the top. That's got to go way down. We're getting there. So now I will get my dial calipers and I will start measuring this. These bullets have a little groove where our crimp's supposed to sit in there. And so this will be pretty good. So let's take a first measurement. Let's lower it down a little bit more. And we're close. They're getting there. So make sure our calipers are zeroed first. So we're zeroed on the calipers. Open them up. Yeah, we're a little big still. So it's supposed to be 1.61. So we're still a little high. We're a little over a 1.64. So we'll go ahead. We'll drop it a little bit. There we go. That's starting to look correct. 1.63. Drop it a little bit more. So there's a round right there. It needs to be crimped. It's almost done. So we're going to go ahead. We're going to drop the powder in. And again, we're looking for consistency. Verify our powder charges in there. Put it in our press. Grab a projectile. Let's back it out a touch more. Make sure we don't. Place our projectile. Place a projectile on the case. Let's go ahead and measure this one. We're a little long right there, but that's okay. A little long. So we're going to lower it just a touch. Press it one more time. Just a touch long again. Lower it again. Press it. Yep, that's it. So let's go ahead and tighten that up. So let's go ahead and we will drop our charge. Put a projectile on top of there. Go ahead and measure this one. And we're right on the money. We're a touch deep, but yeah, we're splitting hairs at that point. So I'm going to go ahead and bring her out, bring her back just a touch. And as you can see, if you look carefully, you can notice that's a clear fitting right there, and that you can see the powder actually falling through that fitting into the case. And I've barely expanded these case necks enough, so that's a nice round right there. Big old 44 mag. Let's check our measurement. Yeah, we're a tad long, but I know the revolver we are shooting these out of, and it will take these just fine. Let's go ahead and we'll do another one. Drop our powder. Go ahead and we will seat our projectile. Go ahead and we'll measure that one. That one's a little short. It's alright though, we're well within specs. So let's go ahead and we'll use this powder right here. We'll drop one more powder. I'm going to weigh it just to make sure consistency on the powder measure is still dropping powder like the way it should be. Let's go ahead and put our projectile in that case. Let's go ahead and seat it. Ooh, that one's way short. Let's bring this die up a little bit more. We're still right at 24 grains, so our powder measure is doing exactly what it should be, and it's doing it very well. So we'll go ahead and put our projectile on there. Go ahead and measure that since we just made an adjustment. Yeah, we're right on the money there. And the last step after this will be crimping it. So you can see we spent our time, the whole thing with reloading is spending your time setting up your press, you know, your scale, whether it's digital, whether it's a balance beam like this, your powder measure, and just double checking everything a few times. Let kind of everything settle out. Let some powder go through the measurer. Get a little brass worked. It'll keep your reloading process going smooth. You don't want to jump the gun and rush stuff. And go ahead and I can see from where I'm sitting that the powder's going through there. You can probably see that on camera too. And then we can verify that our powder's in there. So reloading's all about systems. So I have my brass over here on the left hand side. I have all my cases in a 100 round plastic case. Drop my powder charge and I got my projectiles right here. And so I'm basically just pulling the press, of course there buggers it up, pulling the press with my right arm, and my left arm is going to grab the case, hold it up to get charged, grab the projectile, seat the projectile. Whoa. And again, I've barely expanded these mouths enough. Good thing they are seating without destroying my brass. And so I've got a nice little system worked up, so I'll be done with these pretty quickly. I'm excited about that, and again, I just love loading 44 mag. What a great round. Crimping the cartridges now. So basically I've just taken my bullet seater, I've unscrewed it out of the top of this die, and this die is also going to function as a crimping die. So what we're going to do is we're going to back the die out. Back it out a little bit. Let's take a round. Insert it in the press. We're going to put it all the way up, and we're going to lower the crimping die onto it till it's firm. And from this one in the past, it doesn't need much. So we'll give it a little turn, and then we're going to take it out and we're going to inspect it. Not enough yet. And make sure we put a little crimp on it. Yeah, there we go. That's starting to feel like a crimp. Yeah. Let's compare two of them. Yeah, so I'm just looking at them. Give it a little. We're going to give it a little more. Loading big, powerful Magnum revolver rounds, especially, you don't want to make sure they don't jump the crimp, which means under recoil, the extra other cartridges in the cylinder, what will happen is as you shoot the revolver, it will jump out, and the bullet, because of gravity on the bullet and it's heavy, will stay there and it will actually pull out of the cartridge, and that can jam your revolver and cause all sorts of problems, and you definitely don't want that. So you want to make sure you have a good crimp on these cartridges, and we definitely do. So we're going to go ahead and start crimping this. So we're going to go ahead and tighten up our die right there, because we want to keep this pretty consistent is a good word for reloading. So we're tight. Let's go ahead and start crimping these. I can feel that, and you can visibly see it. Yeah, we've got a nice crimp there. Yeah, this is good. So these two are, let's crimp it just to make sure. You can't, once you put it up once, it's not going to hurt to put it in a second time. That's crimped. So we'll do it just to get a little flow going. And we'll check the first few of these things. Yeah, and you can see the brass shavings coming off right here. So we're crimping. Yeah, this is a beautiful crimps. But very important step. With rifle, with 308s, I don't do this, but a pistol will almost recoil. Now let me rephrase that. Revolvers recoil very hard, especially these 44 mags. As you know, these are hot loads. You know, we put 24 grains of powder in these. So these are going to recoil, and we don't want these bullets jumping the crimp. But yeah, these are all crimping quite nice. And I can feel the pressure. There it is right there. And just that little last bit puts the crimp on. And you don't want to over crimp them because then you're just destroying your brass. But I can feel the crimp going on to each one of these, and I can feel it, and it feels quite nice. And you can see this doesn't take that long, just get a nice little rhythm right here, and we're cooking. And this will be just about the last step. So these are our finished rounds right here. We had two we messed up on the press. The case mounts weren't quite expanded enough, and the bullet came down a little crooked and went and smushed the case. We just go them through those away, and that's definitely important. You don't want to try to save them. So we have 98 rounds of 44 mag right here, and the next thing we want to do, and we've already done this, is put a little label on our case. And so you can see I got H110 here, 24 grains max. Sierra 240 grain jacketed hollow point, and label these because you know you could put these away for a month, you could shoot them tomorrow, you know, it could be a year or two, 10 years from now, 20 years from now, and you're not going to remember what these are. You'll know from reading the head stamp on the brass. It's 44 mag Starline brass, and some sort of a jacketed hollow point in there, but you know, you're not going to know anything else about them. But now you do, and so that's very important. So folks, that's basically about it right there. So folks, I want to go ahead and thank you for watching this video. And you know, if you have any questions or comments, post them below. You know, even if you have other recipes, you know, or other velocities you've gotten, you know, what are the powders you use, primers you use, you know, go ahead and you know, let's talk about it. And I'm definitely interested in reloading. I love reloading, and I definitely reloading big revolver cartridges is probably my favorite thing to reload, or 357s and 44 mags. And eventually, I'm going to get a 460 Smith & Wesson. We're going to reload some of those big boys. And but there's definitely, I love reloading 44 mags, and just so much experimentation you can do with those, and you know, and variations you can do with a revolver that you can't do with a pistol. You know, that's a lot of fun. It gives you a lot of options. But folks, I want to thank you for watching. If you like this video, leave me a thumbs up, and again, feel free to post comments down below.